Welcome back to the weekend wrap. No production, just my thoughts. As always, please like and subscribe, share with a friend, a colleague, a relative, an associate, an enemy, any and all in between. It's appreciated. Bit later than usual. I've been out all day. I've been at a christening and a subsequent reception where the drink was flowing and the food was fooding. So yeah, I don't know how I'm looking right now, but if I'm looking a little bit starched, a little bit waved, let's just bear with it. It's that simple. With that being said, look, this is going to be a fairly short-ish type wrap up. There wasn't a huge amount of action to discuss. I haven't managed to see everything that did take place over the weekend. But I want to kind of start with the Queensberry card. I managed to see a little bit of the Ben Fail fight. He seemed to have a bit of a difficult time with his 6-rounder, but he got the job done, I guess, in fairly comfortable fashion. I didn't see the whole thing. I just saw maybe 2-3 rounds of it, the last 3, where it looked as if, yeah, things were maybe starting to get a little bit difficult, but he did get the knockdown, I think, in the 2nd round, which obviously held him in good stead to win a comfortable points decision over 6. Then we got to Alois Jr. against Berardi. I can't remember his first name off the top of my head. Apologies to him. But it was 7-1 against 8-0. And the fight played out similarly to as I thought it would, except I did think that a stoppage would sort of come towards the end of it for Alois. But I knew he would have issues with the movement of Berardi at the start. Berardi would try to break him down with sort of the lead hand, follow it up with a couple of backhands, move off to the side, rinse and repeat. And you know, they caused Alois a little bit of issues, especially sort of like in those first 3 to 4 rounds. But for the most part, he was getting off the harder shots, and I think that's ultimately what was kind of swaying it in his favor a little bit towards the judges and the crowd. He ended up getting the distance. I think it was an 8-rounder. It was the first time he'd been 8 rounds. And yeah, he ended up winning the points decision. I think they had it to him like 6 rounds to 2. Yeah, I think it was like 6 rounds to 2, something like that. It was a 10-rounder. What am I talking about? It was a 10-rounder, and I think he won 97-93 on 2 cards and 98-92 on the other. So, look, it was a good learning curve for him. He finally goes some rounds, so he gets some rounds in the bank, which is only going to hold him in good stead moving forward. 21 years old, like he's a baby in the game, realistically. Plenty of time to develop, and I'm sure he will do. But he's a pretty good addition to, you know, sort of to the cruiserweight division. So we'll see where he gets to a year, 2 years from now. Now, let's talk about Denzel Bentley and Derek Osaze. I predicted that Bentley would win. I predicted that he would get a unanimous decision victory, purely because Osaze, every time I've seen him, he's very sort of fluid, he's very flowy, in rhythm, and sort of, you know, he not so much keeps to the outside, but he manages to know how to keep the distance. Whereas I felt Denzel Bentley would be having to move forward a bit more, looking for, the jab to set up, the power jab to set up the backhand. Well, the fight didn't play out in the manner that I expected it to, because Osaze actually came out being the aggressor. I think maybe the fact he only had 3 knockouts on his record was really affecting him in terms of his mental preparations. No, I got to show this guy that I hit hard as well. I've got to show him that I can be the boss in the ring. I can be the general. Ultimately, that was the mistake, because it allowed Bentley to be more on the back foot, and Bentley does a lot better when he's on the back foot and he's able to time and counter you, as opposed to when he's the one having to lead the dance and lead the fight. So first round was a very good Osaze round. I feel like he actually won that round, to be totally honest. In the 2nd round, he was actually winning in the 2nd round as well, until Denzel Bentley, not for the first time, a sneaky shot out of nowhere, and it was an uppercut. I don't even want to say it was from hell, because I don't know if it was that deep, but that uppercut came from out of nowhere, a bit like an RKO, and Osaze was basically knocked out as the shot landed. Denzel managed to connect with one last shot in a 4-punch salvo. It was one shot that connected, one shot that grazed, and 2 that missed. But in that whole time, Asazi was literally, he was stunned on his feet and then just went crashing down. Like if you remember the Rocky 4 film when they was doing the montage of Rocky 3, and he just falls straight head first to the ground. That's literally how Asazi felt. Face first into the ground. It was a pretty bad knockout. He was on the ground trying to move about. His one arm just wasn't working, the other arm couldn't sustain the weight. Like, referee was counting up until I think the 4th or the 5th count, and then he just waved it off after a count of 6. Asazi was in a bad way at the moment, but he did manage to get up with the assistance of his team and the coaches and that. He went, him and Denzel hugged each other, embraced each other, and it ended up being a safe night for him and for Denzel as well. But yeah, vicious knockout. It's another one that's going to be getting in the contention for the KOs of the year. And it's just a shame that Asazi's going to have to be that guy now that got the highlight reel knockout against him. But yeah, look, Denzel Bentley, he's looking on to bigger and better things. I don't know if he's looking to reclaim the British. I guess he'd have to face Brad Pauls now that Nathan Heaney lost that in the last fight. Maybe he might want to run back the Heaney fight just to get the win back. If that's something that is of interest to him, I don't know. I know some people are sort of like that. They want to sort of clear the record, set the record straight. So if that is something he's wanting to do, then I'm with it. But I think he may be looking to go back to world title contention. I know he wants to run it back with Yanni Beck. Let's see if Yanni Beck stays at 160, if that's a fight that can be made. But congratulations to Denzel. Like I said, I thought he would win, but I thought that Asazi would fight a lot more conservatively than he did. And ultimately he played right into Bentley's hands, and Bentley said thank you very much. Now, I haven't seen all of the Eye of the Tiger / Top Rank card that took place in Quebec, Canada. But I have seen the co-main and the main events. So before I get into that, I saw highlights of the Abdullah Mason fight against what's his name? I think it's Eric Khan. Or that fight there was, yeah, I mean, look, Abdullah Mason, he's still got some seasoning to go, but 15-0, 13 KOs, couple more building fights, and he can. There's a lot of those ex-world champions he could beat right now, but you don't want to throw him into a level that he has to stay at just before he's fully ready. And he's like, what, 21, 22? Like, there's no rush for him at this point. Let him keep building 2-3 more fights at this level, or maybe slightly above, before you start getting for them world titles. But he is the goods. Jaheed Tucker also got a unanimous decision win, so shout out to him. He's had a little bit of a rough go of it as of late, but they're bringing him back, letting him get busy, so congratulations. I didn't see the Iglesias fight, the Osleys Iglesias against Senna Beko, but he knocked out Beko in 2 rounds. That I did see. I wasn't expecting it to be so early. I did think that it would go about 5 rounds, 5 or 6 rounds on this particular instance, because I don't know if I would put Iglesias in that same category as David Morrell, although he is a very accomplished and fun fighter. But he got it done, 2 rounds. The same as what Morrell did, so congrats to him. I guess they're going to be doing comparisons from now moving forward. But Arsenal bet Makhmadov and Guido Vianello. I picked Vianello to win. Movement clearly is Makhmadov's Achilles heel. If you've got someone that's going to try and just fight in front of him, stand and trade, like, that's where he's got the options. That's where he does his best work. But someone that's going to give him angles, move, rush into the pocket, rush back out again, and be able to sort of hold their own stance and hold their shape, that's a nightmare for him. And I predicted that Vianello wouldn't be able to necessarily knock him out. I didn't think he'd hit hard enough to knock him out, but I thought he would, hit hard enough to box around him. Plus, he's got a decent enough chin that he's not gonna get knocked out from one punch by Makhmadov. Well, he done one better. he stopped. I'm not gonna say knocked him out, but he stopped him in the 8th round. Doctor said that he was unfit to continue. It was the 3rd time the referee pulled him over to the doctor's corner. The first time was in round 5, the second time was in round 7, and then right again at the start of round 8. And Makhmadov pretty much lost every single round. He even touched down at one point off of a clean counter shot that the referee missed the touchdown. I can only assume that he was standing right behind Guido Vianello as it happened, and so missed the glove, because obviously Guido's quite a big guy standing in front of him. But Makhmadov got a point deducted for rabbit punching and pushing down with the forearm as well. It just wasn't a nice night for him. It was a horrible style matchup, and the eye started going from like round 2 onwards, and he just started sustaining a beating. To be fair, I mean, look, he stayed on his feet, unlike the Caballero fight where he was floored 3 times via body shots. But yeah, he just pretty much got beat up and busted up by a guy that I've already said to me is a below average heavyweight. I said he's got good footwork, he's got good movement, but there's nothing special about him. And ultimately he's just shown that maybe the hype around Makhmadov back in the day was either unwarranted or he just got old overnight, which can happen. Because he looked a lot better, even though he was facing limited opposition. He looked much better sort of 2-3 years ago than he does now. He is 34, 35, so maybe the body just isn't what it used to be. That being said, I guess Guido's now put himself in the mix for potentially a FA Jagba rematch. Maybe a Jared Anderson fight. That might be the fight they bring Jared Anderson back for. Maybe he gets an opportunity on the new Saudi card coming up. Ajay Kabayoni's opponents, Martin Bacoli's opponents. I think Zhang and Parker are going to kind of do their own thing together. Maybe Frank Sanchez is someone they might try to bring back. Jarrell Miller against Guido Vianello. Andy Ruiz has still got the busted hand. So maybe they bring him against a Dillian White or a Derek Chisora. I don't know. There's plenty of options, I guess, that can be made. So he's put himself back in those contentions. Let's see what he does. Moving on from that, we've got Christian Mbili against Sergey Derevyanchenko, and I said that I had a feeling that this will be the time where Derevyanchenko just can't really sustain. He finally gets just overpowered, overwhelmed, and taken out. Now, when I said that, I thought it was a 12-rounder. Had I have known that it was a 10-rounder beforehand, maybe I would have thought a little bit differently. The reason I say that, but we'll get into the fight in a moment, but there's a big difference between if you're getting busted up in round 7 or round 8 of a 12-round fight and you've got 5 rounds left to go, 8, 9, 10, 11 and 12. Whereas if you're getting busted up in sort of round 7, round 8 of a 10-rounder and you've just got, 3 rounds left to go, you've got 2 rounds to see the final bell. I don't think Andre Rosier would have said, all right, I'm going to give you one more round at the end of the 8th going into the 9th if there was, if it was a 12-rounder and there was essentially 4 rounds left to go. I think the accumulation, they would have said nah. But congrats to him for staying on his feet. Ultimately, this is, I think, the first big fight he had. I'm not sure about the Charlo one, but this is like the first big fight he's had where he wasn't actually dropped, which is maybe could be a bit of an indictment on Mbili, and maybe not necessarily his power, but his technique or his maybe the way that he rushes some of his work, potentially. But it was a fun fight. It wasn't Munguia Derevyanchenko type fight, but this one was intriguing. It was hearty, and it also shows that no matter what you do, Derevyanchenko just don't get knocked out. He had one arm for about 7 rounds in this fight. He tore the bicep muscle of his left arm, his jab arm, and literally was having to fight with his right hand only, using his left arm only to sort of use it to block. But he was just throwing right hands from sort of round 3, round 4 onwards. It was actually quite a sight to see, and then pretty much he had no legs by sort of round 7, but somehow still managed to move about, still managed to pick shots, and still managed to, just make a hard night's work of it for Christian Mbili, who also, I guess in this one, has shown that while he's got good work rate and good stamina and decent power, if you make him work a bit more, make him work into that second half of the fight, he starts to get a little bit ragged. He starts to get tired. He slows down. And Derevyanchenko had a lot of success in the second half of the fight, but he only had one arm. If he had had two arms, I think that fight could have went a little bit different. There was a couple times where he actually visibly hurt and buzzed and wobbled Mbile, to the point where Mbile then had to cover up to regain his composure. So it was a fun fight. It was very intriguing, and the biggest intrigue was, is Derevyanchenko going to get stopped or not? It didn't happen in the end, so I guess you say, shout out to him for being able to go the distance. That's the one thing we will say. But yeah, it was, it's the type of fight. I understand they're like, oh, he's a warrior, don't want to get stopped and everything, but the guy had one arm and no legs. Like, literally just save him, because the level of ban that the commission are going to give him for a TKO loss at this point in time is probably going to be the same amount of ban that he's going to get now, because of the punishment that he took plus the injury that he had. So it's going to be the same level of ban. You might as well just save him for another like three rounds of damage to save his career an extra fight or an extra 2 fights if he still wants to go on. Don't get me wrong though, I mean, I'm not his doctor, so if he wants to carry on, if he doesn't want to quit the game, whatever, cool, do what you're doing. It was a fun fight, but I do think that it's time that he starts dropping down the level. Maybe start looking at being a gatekeeper for the new up and coming guys, as opposed to, like, I know he was trying to get these world titles like the rest of his Ukrainian the squad, not so much the Olympic squad, but just that Ukrainian class. I know he kind of wants to be in and among those, but he just actually, unfortunately, at a time and place where he just had Canelo in front of him, he had Danny Jacobs in front of him, he had Golovkin in front of him, and then at 168 he's undersized for 168 pounds. It's quite visible, even though he seems to do so well when he's up there. He's just overmatched. And again, there's no one up there that he's going to be able to get a title off of. William Skull, possibly, or Shishkin, he may have been able to do, but Canelo ain't really going to relinquish the other belts until he's ready. And by that time, other people like Mbile, like what's the guy's name? Like Bektomir Melekuziev, maybe not Edgar Berlanga, but Osleys Iglesias, and these guys, they're all going to be in position for to try and claim those belts. Jaime Munguia is still going to be about. So you're not going to get a title for now. Just have fun fights with guys coming up, or just guys a level below that you can beat. That's kind of the way I would look at it at this point. 38, he's done his task. He's been a good servant to the game, but at the highest level, he's just pretty much cannon fodder at this point, and there's no reason for him to be that. He's too good to just be that kind of opponent. But yeah, that's sort of like my thoughts on that. Few other bits and pieces. Apparently there is some slight talks again about Deontay Wilder and Derek Chisora. You guys know my stance on that from a couple of years ago. I was one of the people saying I want Derek Chisora to face him, and people was telling me back then, oh, you're crazy, you're mad, you just want Derek Chisora to get mash up. I was like, no, I think Derek Chisora's got a very good chance of beating him, and everyone thought I was mad. Fast forward to the Joe Joyce performance, and obviously Wilder in his last two. Now everyone else is coming towards the realization, oh, maybe Derek can do it. Just remember who saw it first. That's all I kind of want to say about that one. Outside of that, obviously video dropped yesterday, so you guys would have seen my thoughts on the whole Turkey Canelo Eddie Hearn stuff, a bit of the Shakur Stevenson stuff as well. Pretty much we just keep it moving. Maybe hopefully we get some proper videos out during this week. Casual stream back on Wednesday, it should be, but we'll see how things go. But ultimately, I just want to say thank you everyone for watching, and yeah, I'm gonna upload this now. Got a few things I need to do, some washing. I need to wash some clothes and some other things really quick before the sun goes down. But with that being said, yeah, thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share. I'll catch you on the next video. So until then, peace.